who will give us our opening prayer and words of welcome.
Hey, it's a pleasure to have you here. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We thank you for taking time out of your day to join us and to have a time with the chief. We know that today is going to be a good day. The sun is already shining. It was forecasted for rain, but it looks like we're going to get a little sunshine. And we're thankful for that. We thank you, Chief, for taking time out of your day and your schedule to come and be with us today. Thank you and welcome. Let's bow our heads. Father, we thank you for this opportunity. Bless us as we share, as we engage, and may everything today be to your name's honor and glory, but to the benefit of the community. We thank you and bless you, your name in Jesus' name. Amen.
I'm going to ask Sister Thrower if she'll come up and talk to us about the purpose for the event. She's telling me that I can do it. Okay. So the AYS team decided that we wanted to find ways to engage with the community that we are currently in. It's a great opportunity for us to build relationships, especially after COVID. So many of us have been locked in our homes, so we really don't know each other anymore. The last time we saw kids, there's been 2 and 3 years in between. And so our community has changed. We've changed. We've all experienced forms of loss. So now that the restrictions are beginning to become more, wouldn't want to use, they're more relaxed because more people are getting vaccinated. We're gathering again. And so now is an opportunity for us to come together as a community, 1, to meet each other, 2, to re-engage with one another, 3, to address some issues that are currently happening. While the city of North Charleston as a whole has been experiencing an influx of crime, the best way we feel to address that is to actually have conversations with individuals who can directly impact the changes. And then how can we be a change and assist the law enforcement officers with better ways to enhance our community? So we were very thankful that Chief Burgess and his department said yes to having his schedule clear to engage in a conversation with us. So let me lay some ground rules for this morning's conversation. First of all, we invite you in an orderly fashion for anyone who has questions to please make your way to the microphone. It's right there in the center aisle. Please be respectful. We're going to ask everyone to keep your comments to 2 minutes, and I have a timer up here for everyone. The goal is for us to engage in conversation that produces opportunities for results to positively impact our community. Everyone has things to say, but if there's an opportunity for us to actively create something that could benefit and create a change for our young people, for our senior citizens, for our homeowners, then we are encouraging everyone to share those things. I do want to also acknowledge our community partners that are here with us. At this time is the Wayland Hart team. Anyone, a representative from the Wayland Hart team? I don't see Dexter here yet. And the Wayland Homeowners Neighborhood Association, both of them have it. Okay, so you're here. We want to thank you all for being a part of this. We want to thank Jean's Angels, Katrina Carpenter, that is here with us. Did I get it right, Katrina? Jean's Angels is a 501c3 nonprofit that has spent time. I know you may have seen them on the news and the work that they're doing in the community. We want to thank them for being here and a part of the giveaways as well. Miss Bird of Bird's Bail Bonds, who's right across the street from us, is here. And we want to thank them for being actively engaged in helping us to get this together. And as you all see, once we finish, Soul Train's Eatery, that's outside, as well as a member of our church, they have prepared a great brunch for us so that we can not just talk about solutions inside, but also fellowship with one another. So thank you, everybody. Now, Chief Burgess, yes, sir, Deacon Green. Okay, thank you. All right, so we are ready to get started. I would like Chief Burgess, for those of you who don't know, I have a brief write up on you, but you like I know you don't like those, so I'm not even going to do it. But Chief Burgess is a Binya. How's that? He is a Binya. He grew up in North Charleston, in these streets. He knows this community, and he is now the chief law enforcement officer and has come up through the ranks through the city of North Charleston. And it just goes to show you that someone who has lived here all their life can live their life to positively impact the city which he calls home. I want to thank you. I want to thank you, Chief Burgess, for your commitment to our community, and I want to thank you for your commitment to home. It is not an easy task that you have because crime will always be with us. And for those of us who believe that we can eradicate crime, we can't. And I think the first act of crime took place in the Garden of Eden. And then from there, we had the first murder to take place with Cain and Abel. So since the beginning of time, crime is biblical, and it won't be abolished until Jesus comes. But there are things that we can do to help circumvent crime. And we thank God for the 10 Commandments, which he put in place to give us some direction to build the foundation for law enforcement. So in essence, you are a minister. You are a minister because a lot of the foundational things and the principles of the laws of this land are based off of the 10 Commandments. So I want to thank you for taking time and not going to your church this morning. Because you are active at Royal Missionary Baptist Church. And I want to thank you for being with us today. So if you would just, I want to begin the conversation with you laying out where we are as a community and as a city, because there are things that we know have taken place in the first quarter. So if you can kind of share with us where we are as a city and where we are law enforcement wise, and then we can kind of begin to build a conversation from there.
Thank you all. Most importantly, I'd like to thank the Lord Jesus for allowing me to wake up this morning. And I couldn't be here if he didn't give me that blessing. So I'd like to thank him. And I mean, where would I like to be at more than the house that he says we need to come together and remember him? So, Miss Thrower, when Miss Thrower called me, now I'm coming. So you'll be, yes. No, I think it's kind of pretty good because sometimes I can move around. I'm gonna move around a little bit. I'm a little hyper now. Yeah. No, that's good. Can I pull it if I need to?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Because I can't stand still too long. But Ms. Thrower asked me a while back, and Ms. Thrower has been really, really instrumental in my matriculation as a police officer, as well as the minister was here, Minister, McLean. So people like Ms. Thrower and Minister McLean, I look up to, and folks say, well, why would you look up to them if you're a chief of police? The chief of police is on a title. That's a title. Because before I became chief of police, I was assistant chief. Before that, all the way down to patrolman. So it's only a title, but it's what you do with that title. Being the first African-American chief of police in the city of North Charleston history, I would have never thought that would have been even in my side. I thought it was going to happen, probably, decades from now. But the Lord blessed me with that. But the strange thing about the blessing is this, I realized, is that when I came out of college in 1989, I had just I went to Morgan State University in Baltimore, Maryland. And I had actually signed a free agency contract with the Toronto Argonauts. I played football. And when I got cut from the Argonauts, I came home and I was kind of distraught because, my whole dream was to play football on Friday nights, that's high school, play football on Saturdays, that's college, and play football on Sundays, that's NFL. That was my goal. Getting a degree was just something along the way. I'm telling you the lie. I'm keeping it real. I was no academia now. I get my lesson, but I wasn't thinking that way. But I saw, well, I didn't see it at the time, but when I came home, my mother said, well, son, I am proud of you of everything that you have achieved. But all I want you to do is be happy in life and get your education. And I had accomplished that, but I really wanted more. So in '89, I decided to go to SLED to interview to be a SLED agent, which is based in Columbia. So I put my suit on, walking out the front door, right there on Liberty Hill, Nesbitt Avenue. I'm walking out, and my mom said, where you headed to? I said, I'm headed up to Columbia to interview for SLED. And my mom said, for SLED? Why are you going up there? I said, well, I want to be a SLED agent. And she said, boy, you need to clean your own yard first. That's what my mother told me. She said, you need to clean your own yard. You going up there and clean Columbia mess, you need to do it down here. So I decided to go to North Charleston.
All right.
Now, that's just how God works, right? Then to show you again how God works is that my main goal when I became the chief of police, I tried to do this a long time. I worked for Chief Towns, I worked for Chief Watley, I worked for Chief Caldwell, I worked for Chief Zumar, and Chief Driggers. All those chiefs who were my predecessors before me. But one thing, they did pretty good when it came to the crime. But the thing that they did that wasn't good was a relationship. We might have brought crime down. One year we had 5 homicides, but we had people sitting in the front door every minute of the day complaining about police activities and misconduct. You can't have it that way. You know, you can't have it that way. That's not a successful, that's not a healthy community. So the second thing that God did from '89 was when we had the mandate, the mayor and city council said last year, you have to have your vaccination. Got to work for the city of North Charleston. So I lost over 35 police officers, walked out the door December 3rd of the last year. Now you're talking about there's only one other city that has volume of incident reports that's ever filed in the state every year. It's North Charleston and Columbia, back and forth. We lead one year, they lead. Incident reports. So I have a very, very fast-paced city, and in some ways a violent city in some areas. I need everybody out there on the streets. 35, not to mention now, there's not just 35 rookies, 35 people who had a lot of years, at least 15 to 20 years.
Wow.
Walking out the door. I was there that night and I'm talking to my guys and girls who were staying, and you had the other ones that were leaving. So it really hurt me. But as I say, '89, the revelation of my mother had told me God had put that before me. The revelation is this. Maybe God intended those 35 to leave.
Amen.
Maybe God intended those 35 to leave. Because you got to realize the Bible doesn't really talk too much about who stayed in Egypt. You know, because there were some people that didn't believe in Moses now. The multitude of people left, but they never talk about who stayed. Some people stayed. Well, those are people who stayed. The 35 that left. They stayed. They wouldn't stay and live under Pharaoh's rule. So those are things that happened to me personally. Now, law enforcement side, the city of North Charleston is the #1 city for retail in the state of South Carolina, almost 29 years. We make more money than any city in this state, retail. Why? Because we have people spending money. When you come here, you go to Tanger, you go to Northern Mall, you go to the big box stores, you go to the nonprofits, you go to the small businesses, and you spend money. Then when you come here, where's the most hotels at? North Charleston. Where are the most banks at? I'm saying, you look around the Tri County area, most banks are in the city of North Charleston. Then on top of that, you got Boeing that's going to bring everything from the West Coast here. Then you have Mercedes that's here, and Volvo around the corner. Don't you know we had Volvo? Volvo was going to come and be on the opposite side of Mercedes. But the reason why that wasn't done, the city council and the mayor said, you don't ever bring 2 competing high-end vehicle makers in the same city. It's too stressful. So they cut the deal for Volvo to get to Berkeley County. But the thing about it is that all these things we have, but we have the Air Force Base, we're the only place in the nation that C-17s fly out of. Then we have the Naval Weapons Station where the nuclear subs are at. Then we have all the stuff. So the North Charleston is a cradle of nothing but success. But when you bring all that here, right? And then another thing, North Charleston is the only city in the United States of America that builds high-end airplanes and high-end cars. Do your math, Google it. There's no other city in America that has that. All that you have more people, right? Equals what? More problems. More problems.
Yes.
That's the law enforcement side of it that we're facing. We have more people that's coming here, more people people that live here. And then another thing too, I don't know who you guys are personally, other than I know you. I am a descendant from slaves. My wife, who actually is from Liberty Hill, she can trace her descendants back to Drayton Hall from the first African American that came off the ship to Drayton Hall. I can go back to probably like my great grandmother back to 1860s or whatever. But we are true descendants. So you have, not only you have a population that's very diverse, you have a population of African Americans who have been there all their lives since 1619. So you have a lot of historical factors that go in between law enforcement and how we relate to our community.
So with your connections and with all of the individuals who are coming in and out of Charleston, we know that we've had an influx and uptick in murders that have recently happened with a lot of our young people. Can you talk to us a little bit about the gun violence that is taking place? Because I know a lot of those homicides have occurred because of the use of guns. Can we talk a little bit about the types of crime that we're seeing? Share with us a little bit about the demographics of that crime, and just give us kind of a background on that.
Okay. Gun violence has really, really spiked, not only in North Charleston, but the whole nation. It really has. We have been actually socially, inactive. We were sheltered in place for like 2 years. It was a shock and awe to us to be home all day, and not doing anything. So therefore, I'll give you a great example. Normally we have guys that have beefs with each other. They can't get along. They can't mediate and try to figure it out, right? So they actually hate each other. Then we have what we call the new phenomenon, which is another phenomenon for us, the gang situation. Now, me coming, from being from Union Heights and living on the projects, George Agree and Liberty Hill, when I lived in those neighborhoods, well, especially Union Heights and George Agree, we had little cliques, little neighborhood things. Matter of fact, my mom's from Liberty Hill, from Union Heights, my dad from Liberty Hill. And my dad told me a long time ago, if you back in the 50s, 60s, even the 40s, if you want to go talk to a girl on the Heights, you had to know somebody on Union Heights to break the deal to go on Union Heights. So that was a neighborhood thing. We all have our neighborhood things. But nowadays, the gangs that you see in the West Coast, the gangs that you see when you see the Bloods and the Crips and the Pyrus and the Rolling 20s and Latin Kings, those gangs are here now. And they are very attractive toward our young kids. And mostly our young males. Doesn't matter what color, young males. And what it is that to get in a gang, if you don't know, you have to actually get jumped in. Now, I'm a Mega Psi Phi. That's my fraternity. So I had to pledge for a period of time to get in that fraternity. They think there were things that occurred, but that's a part of fraternity life. But the fraternity is not a gang. It's a club. It's about social uplift. A gang, you have to go, let's say you want to get in the gang. Your friends say, come on, let's get in the gang. You want to join one of them. They have to take you someplace aside, and they basically punch you, everybody, for a minute. Any place on your body for a minute. Once you get through that, you're in the gang. Of course, there's other things. So what happens is, what happens? Then the next guy recruits another person to do the same thing, and it gets strong. So the gang presence is causing a lot of the violence now in the city of North Charleston, because the gang situation is more organized than the old community thing. It's more organized. If you lived in the neighborhood, it wasn't like you only defended because you were from there. Now the gang stuff, it goes all over the place. If you see some of the shootings that happen in clubs, a lot of it is related to gang activity. What gangs normally do, if they go into a club and I'm a Blood, which I'm wearing red, and I'm a Crip, which I'm wearing a darker color, blue, we can have a socialization in the club setting, or even at church, or even out in the neighborhood. It's called a campaign. They'll let each other know, hey, we campaigning, therefore we can get along. But if somebody shoots some signs that's derogatory to the other gangs, then that campaign is done. And then what happens? The whole drill of that is to annihilate the person who disrespected the gang. So the gangs are here. Then you also have what I'm working with the Department of Justice tomorrow. I've been working with them for 2 weeks. We're going to actually do an epidemiology study assessment. And this epidemiology study assessment is going to break down 8 core reasons, and I'm going to take all the suspects who we had arrested since about 5 years. We're trying to figure out what is the common denominator, why these kids or young people are doing what they're doing. Really, I know you all know. Housing situation is bad. Educational system, they can't grasp. Because I went to Charleston County schools too. Now I got out. I just think that we're not grasping it. Also, home life can be, out of whack. Medical situation is bad. There's a lot of things that's associated. So I'm doing that study because I want to know exactly what really are the issues so that groups who want to help to mentor and groups that want to help with the social situations, they can actually they'll know exactly what they need to do to help these kids. Because if you're trying to help somebody, you really don't understand what's the problem with them, you're really not really helping them. So that the gang issues and other things in the communities are really, really bad. And I'm not blaming city government because I don't get into that portion of it. But if I know that if I do an overlay of crime that has happened in the southern end of the city, which is the southern end, if I do an overlay of crime and show you the gunshots, that's not really somebody get hit, but I'm talking about shootings daily, you would think that you are in a foreign land. I'm serious, you would see it and you realize, well, what happens is a young kid goes to school, can't keep up, wants to keep up, but he can't because the education system is going. Then he gets a bad grade in his test. Now he's falling behind the rest of the group. Then his self-esteem is already down when he goes home because his mother has to work 2 and 3 jobs, doing the best she can. He's raising himself basically. Then he has what we call misery. Misery likes company. The other kid who's going through the same thing, he's outside and he's miserable as well. So they get together. Then you're talking about he can't really do anything because he's at the age he can't work a full-time job because he got to go to school. There's a lot of things that happen to kids that cause kids to say, I'll give up. I'd rather do this, go out in the street and sell drugs, or go out in the street, rob people, or go out in the street and steal things. The biggest issue that I see as a law enforcement person that's behind all those things I taught y'all about is drugs. What I don't understand, and I'm going to shut it down a second. What I don't understand is this. Y'all tell me this. When the pandemic hit, how many cars y'all saw on the interstate? Cars that y'all seen on the interstate
Cars.
during the pandemic, cars. With none, right? We've got ships, right, that are still stuck out in the port, right? Still stacked up trying to come in, right? The only way you can sell cocaine in this country, it has to be imported, right? You can't grow cocaine here in America. You can't. You can't even do heroin or none of that. It has to be imported. So I don't understand if we were shut down, we couldn't even get toilet paper and paper towels. My wife would go and she'd go to Sam's. I can't believe they don't have. I said, you need to go over there and get some vitamins. We need that to protect ourselves from the virus. But people didn't think about that. They thought about the paper towels. But what I'm saying is, if we were shut in place for almost 2 years, how in the world the drug system was still going on and prevalent in our country? That's what you should want to know. I really want to know how in the world that's happening if everything is shut down, So those are some of the things that we can work, because the drugs is in the middle of everything. Drugs is in the middle of everything when you talk about crime, violence, and social decay. It's in the middle of that. It is.
Okay, so now we have members in our community who are sitting here, and I'd like for those of you who have questions to begin to make your way to the microphone, if you have any, to begin to talk about some of the things that are directly affecting the communities that we live in. Particularly, we're in the Wayland. This church has been, not the Adventist church, but this building itself has been here since the 1950s, if I'm not mistaken. And churches have always been the staple of our communities. Our congregations were the heart of the civil rights movement. They were the places where change was enacted, and we dealt with a lot of our problems. Can you share with us ways in which, Chief, I know we're just kind of throwing some things out here, but this is an opportunity for us to talk about uh, recapturing and reclaiming the space that we call neighborhoods, and recapturing and rebuilding community. You talked about the gangs coming in. Gangs are a representation, are an alternate representation of family for a lot of people. And because we're talking about a shift in community and reorganizing and structuring community, what are some ways that you see community organizations here and neighborhoods working with law enforcement to help minimize the flourishing, I hate to, well, they are flourishing, the flourishing memberships in the gangs?
Well, the churches, you have a lot of nonprofit groups here. I see Ms. Neesmith with BOW behind our walls. All nonprofit groups, churches, really be honest with you, in my opinion, I may not get an amen on this one. My opinion is this: if you really want to help the situation that we have, you got to go to the situations that you can't be in these four walls. Jesus did his thing outside. The church is where he wants us to come and as one in worship, but the work is out there. So what I'm saying is that the issues that I see in law enforcement that we know that we need help, and that's what we're asking for, because we can't do it by ourselves, is that go into these neighborhoods. Like I always, bother Ms. Tanae Williams. When you hear people, when they, let's say if there's a protest or something for whatever reason, I mean, protest is a great thing because it causes us to think different ways, and it's your right to do that. But when you see it, you want to know. You say, okay, for instance, whenever an officer involved situation happens, right? Anytime an officer shoots somebody or it does something that you think is wrong, folks come in. Oh, thanks, man. You good to go. I guess you heard that bad right voice kind of getting over. Yeah, thanks, man. Excuse me a second here. Thank you. So, you will see folks go out and they'll go out and say, hey, this is wrong. This shouldn't have happened. Hold law enforcement accountable. I'm with that 100%. But we are getting no one to step up. Well, now we are. Last year we had 36 homicides. The majority of those people that died looked like African Americans. They were African Americans. Some were Caucasian, some were Hispanic. But 29 of them, almost 30, were African Americans. And that has been since I've been a cop. The majority of people that die in our city are African Americans. I do part 9 crimes. I do from murder all the way to shooting and dwellings. I even include arson, rapes, robberies, carjackings, 9 crimes that I do in between. You know who are the most victimized people in 9 crimes every year in the city of North Charleston? Who do you think it is?
Black people.
Black people. Black people are most victimized in this city than anybody. And back in the day, like you said, when we saw that as an African-American community, we stepped up. When Bull Connor was doing what he was doing in Alabama, we stepped up. When the dude did what he did in Selma, we stepped up. When the presidents in up there weren't doing what they're supposed to do, we marched. We called attention, and then we worked with our elected officials to change it. But when an officer does something wrong, rightfully so, you all should step up. but we don't hear a mumbling word. I have to meet 36 mothers or fathers last year. You can imagine how that is, but nobody's stepping up for them. So I think we need to change it. The change needs to be that we need to look at a person named like Tanae Williams, Ms. Neesmith, go to them, call them here, and ask them, how can we help y'all? They have the programs out here, but they're not having the help, not from the political people, because they can probably get grants once in a while, but the consistent, the grassroots, the boots on the ground help you guys. If y'all get out and really help them, then y'all have not only a motive to do it, but y'all have a reason that's tangible and you can see what good comes from it. That's the thing that we need to do. Councilman Jerome Haywood, he's working on getting some of the pandemic money farmed to these groups. What I'm doing is looking at the core reasons with that epidemiology study to send those groups over there to this is what we need. If we have mentoring groups, if we have 5 mentoring groups that he's going to give money to, then all those 5 mentoring groups going to work in communities of need. If we have social issues, Sharika Myers and those people need to deal with the young people who have social issues. We can do it, but we have to actually send those people who are willing and have the background to get it done. But that's what, if you ask me, the people are already doing it. You just need to link with those folks. Every community in North Charleston has a civic club president or an organization. Some of them don't really care about what's going on. But the ones down in the southern part of the city, Ida Taylor, Skip Michaels, Mr. Wright, they're both Wrights, one on Ackerby, one on the terrace. I know them personally. They have programs. They have a need. That's where we need to go. We need to go to them and say, what's going on in your neighborhood? Because when you got people sit back saying, we're for our people and we know our communities. How you gonna say you know your community? You don't know who Tanae Williams is. How you gonna represent the Wayland and you don't know what the Wayland's about? You can't sit there and grandstand and say, oh yeah, Black Power. I'm Black. I can say that all day. But you need to know what Black Power is, what it really means. So that's what I'm saying. Go to those folks who live in the neighborhood. Your family lives in the northern part of the city. Why would I sit back and try to go there and stand on a Trano and have a sign up saying, I'm here, protect your rights when I haven't even sat down to talk to you and say, what are your issues with law enforcement? Tell me your story. Then I can go out and say, I spoke to Mr. Roy and the family and this is that. And another thing before I get off, please, people, please pray for Anthony Scott. Anthony Scott and I have developed a relationship. That's Walter Scott's oldest brother. We developed a relationship 4 years ago. Before any police officer in the city of North Charleston under my administration goes to the academy, Anthony Scott, Rodney Scott, and his family comes in there and he talks to them for 2 to 3 hours. He tells them what they hurt. We show them the video so that those rookie officers would not make that mistake that Slager did. So Anthony's wife, Denise, she and I have been talking for the last week. He is really in need of your prayer. So I just wanted to throw that out because it came to my mind. But that's the thing, Mr. Roy. You got the people that's doing it. We need to go to them and say, how can we help? And we have to be consistent and we have to sustain it. We can't just go there 1 week and say, okay, I'll catch y'all probably in a couple more weeks. No, because these children are dying in the streets. They're killing one another like nothing. We got a video the other day of a kid that I grew up with from Liberty Hill. 4 of them in the car. They're coming from a club. They're sitting there. The driver got a hoodie on. He's sitting there acting on. I was like, well, you don't even know how to get hit in your face. But anyway, he's acting all rough and tough. And then the other guy, he's sitting there. He's got his money flowed out. These are our people, our young black males. Then here's a long gun, pulls out, and they told me, yeah, and he got the song, beating and this and that. Then the other one flashing money, and he's got his Glock. Very next day, not even 24 hours, their car got shot up on the interstate. The driver died, got shot in his head. And the folks who shot and killed him look like us. I'm just keeping it real with you. That's what's going on. It's the truth.
Yeah,
Chisholm.
Officer Burgess, I've been incarcerated about 3 times, daytime. First time in 1968 in Columbia, South Carolina, Manning's Institution and stuff. And I was around guys that came in and they cried like a little baby. You know, like most of the people see these guys on TV and they act like tough guys. But when they get behind those walls, there's a whole different persona. They call her mama every day, crying like little babies, you understand? It's the culture. You know, when I was little, coming up in Harris Street, Jackson Street downtown, we didn't want to kill anybody. Our culture was saying, don't go to jail for 15, 20 years. These guys act like 15 or 20 years of their life don't mean anything. You understand? They will go to jail and work, and I think they might make $1 an hour now, maybe 75 cents an hour. That's what they get in prison, okay? And they're told when to get up, when to go to work, when to sleep, when to go to bed, and when to take a crack. You can't even go to the restroom unless you ask an officer, okay? And that's what they need to understand, that you're giving up your freedom. You might make $14, $13, $10 an hour, but that's a whole lot better than 75 cents. You understand? And that's, you don't tell me what to do. Oh, you ain't gonna tell them white folks up there in Columbia what you ain't gonna do. Or the next morning, they'll find you dead. You understand? And they need to understand that. You understand that? In New York, they have penitentiary, Attica, Clinton, Dannemore, and stuff. You mess around with those officers and stuff, and the next morning you were found in your cell beaten to death. And there was no investigation. Closed case. Governor Rockefeller didn't care nothing about them officer killing the people up there. I met people that was in Attica when there was this big uprising.
Yes, sir.
And they told me how people was hollering all night. They couldn't sleep. They was getting beaten with bully clubs and water sprayed on them. And what the point I'm trying to reach is that these organizations need to start telling these young guys who think that it is glorified to be a gangster, that you're being nothing but a fool, and you're giving your life up for nothing. And you know who suffers? You don't suffer by yourself. Your mama suffer. When she got to go to Columbia, when she got to make sacrifice for her kids in the house and take away from there to bring you something in Columbia. The children suffer too. That's what they need to start putting in these fools' heads and tell them. I met guys in jail doing 5 years, and they robbed a guy, and he had a nickel, 5 cents in his pocket. And I said, what? Well, I didn't know it. I said, you mean to tell me you robbed somebody? You didn't even know what they had? 5 cents, a nickel in his pocket. And he was doing 5 years in jail for 5 cents.
Wow.
I've seen that. Nobody told me that. And the reason why most people get in gangs is because they get bullied.
That's true. I agree with that.
And what happens is they need somebody to help protect them
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
from the bullies.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So they get in these gangs and stuff. The first thing most guys do when they come to jail is find somebody to get in a gang with.
Yes, sir.
For protection.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
So they won't be raped, taken advantage of, their commissary taken from them. You understand? This is a cruel thing. It's not an easy answer.
No, it's not.
You understand? And there's multiple answers to what we can do.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Brother
sir.
Chisholm.
Thank you, sir. Well, he's 100% right. And that's you talk about restorative justice. I believe in the restorative justice, the principle behind it, having folks who are actually incarcerated come back out, definitely try to work with the victims, families, or whoever they dealt with, and also work on themselves to help change situations. And that's the thing. Folks, like yourself, since you said you spent time, you all have a lot to bring as well. That's another part of the family. And when you all go and sit and talk to them, Just like Ronald Smith, the guy who Ron Dene, father. I mean, that's what he does. He's trying to talk to those kids. He comes out because we have retaliation. That's why you have a lot of these homicides. We have one shooting. Then next thing you know, we have to look out for the next one. Why? Because in our culture, I'm talking about Black culture, and in Italians do the same thing too. If you mess with us, we mess with you. Yeah. It ain't a Black thing now. Italians do the same thing. So what we have to do in law enforcement is try to reduce the opportunity for a retaliation. We have protocols, but the last 2 years has been terrible for us on that because we can't even get out. Because, you know, some officers don't want to go to home because they think they may get COVID. It was just crazy for the last 2 years. But you're right. But also too, the gang things. That's why I believe in this thing. And you all don't have to say amen, but what I do as a law enforcement leader, I evaluate crime in the neighborhoods. I don't look at how we're going to police in Union Heights and do it the same way in Coosaw Creek. It doesn't work. Union Heights crimes are different than Coosaw Creek's crimes. So we lay on the crime responses to the need of the community based on the crime that comes from the community. So what I'm saying to you all basically is this. We need to sit down and not beat the school system up, because I love the school system. We all have issues. My department have it too. We need to support them, but when we support them, ask them to create a real, sincere process for the schools in our community. We can't expect them to look at North Charleston High as they look at Wando, people. I'm sorry, it doesn't work that way. Look at what North Charleston High kids are doing. Look at what Mount Pleasant kids. Think about it. There's about 70 to 80,000 people in Mount Pleasant, right? Big city, probably the fourth largest city in the state. We're like the second or third. We have 120,000. When last you heard about a homicide over there?
That's the problem.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that really bothers me, because there's so much that goes on there that's never been told.
Mm-hmm.
And my community, from where my children grew up in, is
Yes.
like even the school system, Easter Cooper, they say, oh, well, that's realistically, it's not conducive to my culture. And it's like, I mean, as avid as I am in my children's school, every day it's still not geared to them.
Yeah.
And I mean, especially when it comes down to, you ask about the issue of how can you help mental issues.
Oh, yeah.
When you have children that go to school every day and being told, oh, you're still not going to equate to your Caucasian counterpart because of academic reasons. And I'm thinking like, well, why not? You're sitting in the same classroom, getting the same material, but yet you're still being told you're not going to equate to them. I mean,
But
I'm just saying, you brought Mount Pleasant, and I'm just like,
no, I brought Mount Pleasant up, and you're right. The reason why I brought it up, I'm talking about the crime side of it. If you look at the crime side of it, it tells you one thing that we don't want to talk about on both sides, Mount Pleasant and North Charleston. Economics.
right, but the people from Mount Pleasant is that's what I'm saying. So you're going to get the stats from North Charleston perspective because people from my own community, I can name off 6 people that from the time I graduated till now that are no longer with us. And that's because they came to Charleston, did whatever, like joined gangs, did drug team, all that stuff, and they're no longer with us. And I'm just like, but your numbers are not geared appropriately because they're only looking at because this person died on this side, and they use a false address because that was where they want to. And yet we still have the children in Mount Pleasant looking at, okay, my cousin did this and got this, and not addressing like their mental state of well-being.
And that's why I mentioned about the social side of mental health too. But I'm gonna go ahead and get away from my Pleasant thing. The only reason I brought it up is because if you have a per capita income level that is actually above the average, you go down to Shakur and Cherokee, the Macon, if you want to call it that, $17,000 to $25,000 a year. I'm just keeping it real. What I'm saying is, if you look, you can look at North Charleston, a map, and you can draw where the heaviest populated African Americans are and brown people. And then it shows you a pocket in the southern area. This is called the South. The central starts when you get past Rivers and Durant in the Liberty Hill, 10 Mile, the mall area. Then you see a small pocket there, and then you see a difference when you go to the northern part of Dorchester Road, Dorchester County part. What I'm saying to you, when you do another overlay, you can even pull incidents in schools per week. I guarantee you the numbers will be stronger in the neighborhoods that are really deprived. The neighborhoods, like this neighborhood, we're a food desert. We don't have a Publix, we don't have a Harris Teeter, a Food Line, or nothing. All we have is a Dollar General and whatever the other ones. We got to go to Walmart to shop. Then, yes, and then on top of that, right? On top of that, you have a lot of the housing down there that's substandard. You know, you have a lot of absent landlords who actually owns them. You know, and you have, and then you have. It's for our areas. It's not gentrification. Gentrification really happened in the Park Circle, and guess what? It really impacting the white folks in Park Circle, who I know, I'm living there for 40 years, because the gentrification is running them out of those places because they can't afford it anymore because they want fixed incomes. So what I'm saying is, if you look at the economic base in Mount Pleasant, it's always at a good, you know, side of things. Therefore,
I'm not lost to what you're saying.
yeah.
I'm saying that the numbers that come from over in Vancouver
Yeah.
is not numbers for my community.
Mhm.
Because I grew up in a community where it was middle to lower income families. You know?
Yes.
Now, like out of the whole, it was a predominantly Black community. Okay. Now we only have out of the original community maybe 6 original people. That's including my family and 5 other families.
Yeah.
Because the grandkids, the parents, they left
Yeah.
or died, or, you know, people just took their land,
Right.
you know, and I'm just like, but that's not helping, because when you're getting more people with higher income coming in, it's leaving us out in the dark.
Yeah.
The number, I just feel like it's not.
So,
yeah, I know we're talking about this, but we've got somebody else at the mic, and it's a good conversation, but I think we're saying, I think he's saying, you're saying the same thing, Elizabeth.
Yeah.
To your point about the numbers being changed, because the same thing is happening here as we have new individuals moving into the area. It changes the per capita and the structure of the community, and I think that that's where we're going, but we have a question here, and then I know this gentleman,
Thank you,
you
Mr.
might want to
Burgos.
go make your way to the mic.
I'm listening to everyone, and you know, I'm originally from New York. I grew up in Queens, New York, and done a lot of time in the military, and I look at different aspects of life. I have land down in Hollywood, which is poverty, which is now becoming money. Then you look up North Charleston, and I want to hit Mr. Burgess on this. North Charleston's growing so much. You lost 35 sworn officers. So now we look at North Charleston, we have Boeing, Mercedes, everyone else coming and growing. We're collecting all this tax money. What are they doing for your department?
Well, to be honest with you, I guess because I lead a little differently. I lead with the mind. My mindset is all about the communities. And if you notice, when I took over in 2018,
Yes, sir.
normally when you see the chief of police, they come in and say, okay, what are you going to do? You're new chief of police. We're going to bring crime down. You know, and that's relevant. But as I look at it, going on 33 years next month, the problem that we really have with the crime is because law enforcement, we can't do it by ourselves. We try that.
Takes
We
a
can't.
community.
Exactly. So you're right.
Takes a community.
Just like he said, how you bring crime down if you're law enforcement, you got to work with the community.
100%.
And you can't work with the community if you don't know how to serve the community.
Well, if you
If
don't
you
have the
don't
people, how do you run it?
Exactly. So that's why I said, my whole thing is this, and you heard me say this before, especially you, Mr. Roy. I said in 18, when the mayor swore me in, partnership, relationship, fellowship, any kind of ship we can ride on, let's ride on it. So we can be better servants to the people. Therefore, the people start to trust us instead of to distrust, and then they start to step up and they start to say, hey, nah, we were quiet with that, we're not quiet anymore. Nah, law enforcement need us now. And guess what? Crime started to change. Most of our crimes now, which has been in the past, when it happened, we would get information. The community stepping up big time now. People are tired of not being able to sit on their porches. People are tired of the children can't play in the streets. People
100%.
are tired of all the mess that comes in the neighborhood, and it's not from somebody from outside. It's happening from the people inside, you know, and I equate it again to the Bible. We're in the church. For thy people have corrupted themselves. And read the Bible and see what happened when he got down there.
That's
So
right.
if God's going to tell you that, yeah, my nephew, Tyrone Cox, I had the FBI and the DA to lock his behind up on the height for selling drugs. How can I go to Union Heights meeting every other month, neighborhood I grew up in, and I sit there and ask the people, as I say, step up, do more, and then I know my nephew out there slinging?
That's right.
I'll be a hypocrite. So I'm sorry. We've got to do like the Lord said, deal with those who do not want to live civilized. And that's one of the biggest things. We got to start putting our heads in the sand. And in law enforcement, we got to be real servants. We got to come to your house and say, sir, what's really going on? Then another thing we got to do in law enforcement, we got to call it for what it is. If our officers are wrong, they're wrong.
That's right.
If they did the wrong thing, they did the wrong thing. With me, when they do something wrong, we have a policy procedure. If it's not egregious, I'll punish them, take a day off, take their money from them, and then when I do that, I'm building them back up. I'm giving them critical sensitivity training, bias-based training, anything I can to build them back up. But if they do something egregious, they're gone. They're gone. So we got to hold ourselves accountable, ask y'all to hold yourself accountable to work together.
But going back to my question, what is North Charleston doing for you?
Well, that's the thing. My department is the highest paid department in the state now. Highest paid. I asked the mayor this, he made it happen. Why? Because I can attract officers with good mind. I'm not, just because I got a college education, that don't mean that I'm better than anybody else. But we've seen that officers who have college education, they've grind for 2, 4, 6 years, they make better decisions. They really do. Not all of them, but most of them do. Then also, what has happened for me, how they're making things better for us, especially when you're talking about the African-American community. The mayor told me, you run this department. The first week, I brought in unconscious bias-based training.
That's right.
Why? Because none of my predecessors would actually say that word. They would do it, but wouldn't say it. I'm gonna call it like it is. Everybody had biases, everybody. So I brought them in from Boston University. Then I brought the YWCA, did a racial equity training. All our officers went through that. Then I brought fair and partial police training, diversity training. Then we have an immersion program, as I said to you earlier, to bring Walter Scott family in because there's no other department in the nation. I just left LAPD last week with all the leaders that actually have a family of a person that we killed.
That's right.
And got them on board to work with us. And that, what I told you, happens every week. This Criminal Justice Academy, sir, they actually started teaching community policing 3 years ago.
Wow.
I've been
That's
a cop
from you.
for 3
That's
years
a
ago.
blessing,
We've
Mr.
been doing
Ray.
community policing since 91.
But for them to understand it and follow you, that's the blessing.
That's what I've got. I've got the city council and the mayor letting me look
Right.
at what the reality is. Because I'm like this, when you come into City Hall on the second floor, that's where you come in at to file a complaint against a police officer. And all my career, every time I walk past old City Hall, new City Hall, I see black people sitting in there. I said to myself, man, what can we do to lessen that? Well, the white officers, they try to do their job, but they don't understand our culture.
That's right.
Hispanic officers, they try to do the job, but they don't understand black cultures or white cultures. So what do? You don't arm them with all this stuff. You arm them with knowledge.
Power.
You give them, and think
Power.
about it. You don't give them one time a year. We get it every other week
Power.
because we have a city that's predominantly black. So most often you're going to serve people who don't look like you if you're white. You know, the white officers, they wanted that. They wanted that. They went to racial equity training. They wanted that. Why? Because now they can go into community, and when a black woman raises her voice, it's not that she's being disorderly.
That's right.
She's emotional. You know, when a black man sits there and mumble and, yeah, you can do all this, right? He's not threatening you. That's his way of reacting to what's going on around him. So you arm them with those things. So that's what they'll help allow me to do. And I'm putting that, and it's been in there since I've been a chief.
Thank you, and I
No, thank
appreciate
you.
everything.
Thank you, man.
Thank you. So come on, Katrina, so I just got a message from the caterers. Go ahead and make your way to the microphone. But we need to, the caterers are messaging me, the clouds are getting dark outside and they want us to be able to eat before the rain pours down on us. So we'll figure out a way to constructively take a break here. But I want to go ahead and address, I think she was before you. Yeah, he's been trying, no, don't sit back down because you lose your place. Okay, there you go. All right, so let's go. And then I saw one other person get up. No? Okay.
So I guess not necessarily a question, but maybe you can help me direct. We are aware that a lot of crime comes from bullying. A lot of crimes come from kids who are not healed. My thing as a nonprofit, we've been in the community actively helping kids. We don't just come out when someone is killed or something happens, then everybody has a voice because they want their 5 minutes on TVs. Literally, before the pandemic, we're in the school system sitting next to people's kids that have a behavior problem that says, we're going to get it right. But the challenge I have now is getting, I guess, police department as well as the school, and I would say more of the school district to work with us. And the reason why I say that is we do community giveaways, but then I have 7 storage units of brand new clothes that we buy for kids. If that child is being bullied because they have a odor, they're not wearing what kids these days classify as slap. You know, they're being bullied. But when you have nonprofits that go out and buy nothing but the best to give them, and the school system refuses to work with you because the social workers and the guidance counselors work more closely with the kids in the school who can identify kids who really have a need. I could do a community giveaway all day long. You're gonna find people who are gonna be abusive or people who don't have a need, but to be able to help the kids who really need it, what can we do to best serve them? Because if I can provide you with stuff that you're clean, you have these new Nikes on, or you have this on, it makes you not only cut down on bullying for you, but it boosts their self-esteem to say, I can go to school and feel comfortable because now I fit in. You know, when we're trying to do those things, we get pushed back and it's like, oh, well, the kids in this school doesn't need it, but then you see so many kids in that school getting beat up because of what they're wearing. You know, so this year we worked with Charleston County. So I've been in every Charleston County school system donating items and stuff, but I just want to know how can we work together? So then that way, the kids who truly need the help to cut down on that is being served.
Well, we actually created a initiative called Cool to Be in School. We did that back in probably like 2014, 15. Now, some people say, well, like, you know how you have folks, nonprofits and organizations give out pencil pens and all stuff like that the kids need. It's a great thing to do to be involved. But everything we do at North Charleston PD, we have a purpose behind it.
Mm-hmm.
We created Cool to Be in School because we looked at the numbers of truancy. If a child does not go to school for the first month because of clothing, school supplies, or just lack of transportation or no parental support, when they get to school, they're not going to make it. And then the cycle continues.
Right.
So what we do with Cool to Be in School is this. We're going to have ours in August. It's supposed to be at City Hall, but we may change it. And what we do, we go to the school districts and we find out exactly what are the needs for the elementary kids, middle school kids, and we get all that. And we have high school too. I'm talking about the right pencils, the right Mead books and stuff like that, the correct stuff they need in school. And we work with nonprofits to get clothing for them. So when we have that, when the kid come up there elementary, we know exactly what they need and they can go get the clothing along with that. But the key to that is that what we do with our school resource officers is that we actually have our NROs and our community service officers to ride around the neighborhood for the first good month. We'll call, when the SROs look at the list, if they see kids that are absent, they'll ask the teacher if they heard anything. They'll call our guys on the streets, say, go to 1414 Mockingbird Lane, Albert ain't here. And they go right over there, knock on our door. your son is supposed to be at Chicora. Oh, yeah. The mother may be sleeping, thought he had went to school. So it's an effort that we do with the nonprofits to get the equipment, but the real issue is getting them in the schools and keeping them. The first month is vital. If you look at statistics, it would tell you if they don't go to school the first month and because of bullying, because of clothes, or because of their hygiene situation or anything, they are going to be lost. And if they're going to make it and matriculate, that means the cycle goes down, and then they make an excuse. Like a mother tells me, well, my son wants to work, but he has a record. Well, this is what happens now. This is real. And it ain't nothing color based. You go to court and you have 40 kids in there for simple possession of marijuana. I've seen it. Half the kids are white, half the kids are black. They all mingled in together. The judge would go to the thing and says, okay, who wants to plead guilty for simple possession of marijuana? I would take your plea. I would suspend the sentence. You're free to go home and don't do it again. Next thing you know, you see a line of kids, boom, 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 standing up right there, ready. The majority of kids that come in line are black kids because they heard the one word that we as African Americans love to hear. What's that word? Free. 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 And next thing you know, they get right in that line and plead guilty, suspend the sentence, guilty.
It's on your record.
Now
White
you
kids.
have a record.
I'm up. I don't blame them because I want my son to be in that line to do the right thing. And my daughter. The white kids go up there. Their mother and father said, well, judge, he was wrong, she was wrong. We want to get in the PTI program. It's going to cost you about $150, $200. We'll make it happen. We'll find a way. They go ahead and pay that money. They go to that program. Now that thing is taken off their record. The black kid that the mother just told me that has a record, that's because nobody helped him to understand that don't take that, fight that, and go through a program. Now that young kid who did is going to college. And that young black kid, every time he try to get a job, they say, oh, you was charged with this and that. And then what he does, his self-esteem goes down. And then he says, I got to do something. I got to get a gun. I got to get some drugs. I got to do something. See, that's why I was talking about the Mount Pleasant thing, not against him. See, the way they think over there, they're going to fight every second away.
Right.
They will. We used to do that. We used to fight. We fight more against each other more than we do that now. So you're right. I need to get with you because we can link your program up with ours. You can have your standalone thing and we give these kids, but we want you to be a part of the truancy issue.
Well, that's definitely a thing
That's what
because
it is.
every week we're in a North Charleston school donating these items. I'm going to be a part of that. We're going to talk, but I want to be a part every month because kids' situations changes. So if there's an issue, call and say, hey, look, we have this. If your officer sees someone not in school and you can identify why, say, hey, look, we have this issue. That way, these kids are getting constant support and not just when we do an event for the back to school. That's why
They need it all the time.
we're doing it all the time.
Yes, ma'am.
We just need to be allowed in. That's it.
You will. We have a meeting set up with you.
Yeah, on the
And
15th.
Major Perry, who's over schools,
Okay.
great guy. Matter of fact, he was in Russell cleaning up on Saturday. He's a community guy.
Okay.
You will become a partner with us. We'll become a partner with you.
Okay.
And you have full access. We have 34 officers in the schools. I have more officers in the schools than hand-in-hand has police officers in the streets.
Mercy.
34 schools, elementary, middle, and high.
Okay.
So yeah, I appreciate that.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Next question. Do we have anybody else that has a question before I want to make sure that we get Sister Mary.
One second. One thing I want to do before we leave here, the young kids, like this young lady right here, I want to hear from y'all. We need to hear from y'all because I'm telling you, we get in these places and we talk to people my age or a little younger. The folks we need to hear from are those people. Those are people that do, because we basically talk about how we're going to save them. And I know I don't want to put you in the spot, but there's something you all want to talk about, or even something you want to ask me about.
One of them you need.
That's good.
We may have to have a conversation with some of them after that
Yes, ma'am.
too.
Yes, ma'am.
But go ahead, sir.
Hey, Chief, I applaud you for what you do, coming over and talk to us.
Thank you.
I'm not from here. I just moved here. I'm a military member from the base. So what I'm here for, me and my wife, we say, what can we do to help, okay? Because we believe in helping the young people, right? So that they don't get to the jail part. My wife, she's a counselor. She works over in North Charleston as a district counselor.
High school? North Charleston High?
North Charleston.
Okay. All right, good.
So we just want to help the community, see what the needs are. How can we as you say, people move here, bases here. We have resources on the installation that we can use to help the people that look like me in this community.
Yes.
So my question is, like his, how many officers required for North Charleston? How many do you have right now currently? Because you need that resources for you to do your job. Not only community-wise, do you have the right resources? Do you have the number of required police to get the job done?
Good question. Realistically, City of Charleston is the biggest department in the state.
Okay.
We're like the second or third. I think either us or Columbia.
Tracking.
So numbers wise, City of Charleston carries about 430. We carry about 380. I should carry the same amount they carry, but because of taxes, you know, because when you want to get more people in, because when you hire an officer, you're talking about 48,000 for somebody who's 21 years old with no degree. If you have a degree, I'll give you 2% with associates, 4% with a bachelor's, and anything above with a master's. So I can give you some good money coming in at 21 years old. But you got to think of the salary plus the fringe benefits. You got to include that plus a car and all the equipment. North Charleston pays for all. Well, thank y'all. Y'all pay for all the stuff. Thank y'all very much. Even the cell telephone. Thank y'all. So the city of North Charleston is built that everything that a police officer has, the taxpayer pays for it. So if we try to increase it to like 20 to 30 more officers, that means the tax millages will go up. So therefore, the taxes will rise if you want to increase that. So the thing I would actually do on that part for us is come to some of the city council meetings. Before you say anything, evaluate how that goes. Look at the crime per month in our city versus the crime per month in the city of Charleston. And then you can say to the city council and the mayor, listen, city of Charleston crime is a little less, but they have more. North Charleston need to have more because we have more. See what I'm saying? I'm just kind of give you that little kind of inside scoop on that.
Okay, thank you. But I understand that in your rules, you have to advocate for your police department.
Oh yeah.
As far as ensuring that we have the right resources to provide the help that they need in the community.
Yes, sir. And I advocate for it. I mean, all the time. One of the things I've done is that, and it's God. Before the mandate came out, I have 3 young ladies that do recruiting hiring. I mean, they're all over the place, HBCUs, major universities, any place, military. They go out and they attract people. Not everybody, sir, want to be a cop. And you know what's so sad? That we always say we need more blacks in law enforcement, right, Rev? We always say that. But who are the best recruiters for black people to come to law enforcement?
Us,
Black people. But guess what black people do? My dad, born and raised on Liberty Hill in the 40s. My mama from Union Heights in the 40s. They never said to me and my brothers, it was an honorable thing to do, to be a cop. They talked about going to West Vacant. They talked about going in the military or going to college. Most white folks, they tell their kids, hey, you know, man, it's a good job. So we can't be mad with the white folks because there's more white people in law enforcement because they recruit and they prepare them. So we need to do the same. As black people, we need to say, we need to be involved, you know? So the recruitment thing is this with us. We actually went and hired 28 people before the mandate was even thought of. Okay. But when you get hired, you got to go to the academy, which is 12 weeks. Then when you come back, you have to do 8 weeks with a field training officer. But the Lord had already put those 8 people that we had at the academy. So when the mandate came, when they left, the Lord had me some reinforcements coming in. See what I'm saying? And I had never even thought about it. But now we almost, I think we like 15 down. We went to Puerto Rico and brought in 9 police officers.
Oh, wow.
Why? We went to Puerto Rico and recruited and brought them back. 4 of them coming on the airplane today. Why? Because we have a huge Hispanic Latino community. I can't speak Spanish, you know, as much as I want to help them. So what I do, I go get people who look like them and that can speak the language. So we're doing all kind of recruiting things, and that's the big thing with us.
Thank you again, once again here. From the base, one of the leader of the installation, we want to mentor young folks.
Yes.
So anybody in here, if needs any help from the base, please reach out. Trent, I work with him every day. So you can reach out to me and then get members to come over and help mentor the young folks here. But thank you for your time.
We need.
Oh,
Yes, sir. Yes, it is.
we don't know that that program exists.
Mhm.
How do we get the information to know how to tell a young person when the judge offers that opportunity, that is not good? And how can we, as a community, build resources, financial resources, to support a family? Because the average family where a child, where a young boy, young girl, standing before the judge, they may not have the $200 or $300 for that. What is it, for the PT?
PTI.
Pre-trial intervention.
If they don't, if the family does not have resources for their child to go into that program, how do we get an opportunity to know about that so that we can assist that family?
The PTI program, I think they created a thing about probably 10, 15 years ago. Back in the day, the judge would do it himself. He would just kind of like suspend your sentence and told you that you have to do some community service. That's what PTI basically is about, more of a community service type based program. But they actually change it and they have other people to run it. What I think the church can do, and any of our Black organizations, really be honest with you, is get on that World Wide Web. Get on it. Google, pretrial interventions. Google reduction of sentences. Google those things. And then when you have your leaflets, your letter stuff, say, if anybody, like when you preach it, if anybody in here have any issues or have their children, these are some of the things that you need to know before you go to the court. The same as when you have general sessions courts. You can either go get a defense attorney that the state gives you, afford to you, or you can get your own attorney. So most people, when they get to GSC, they know the system. But you're right, the basic person doesn't know. And I'm glad you brought that up, Minister, this. You got to understand this. When you go to court for a traffic ticket or even disorderly conduct for city court, don't be dismayed. Listen, what is the best evidence nowadays to use when you go to court? Say it again. Cameras, right? Video, right? Everybody likes videos, right? When I was a rookie in '89, I'm telling you, before I would go to court, I had like 5 people ran traffic lights. I walk up there, Judge Padgett be like, Officer Burgess, what you got? I read it off, guilty, guilty. I mean, it doesn't matter what the person said, because back then, police couldn't do any wrong. Oh, now, after Rodney King and all these things, man, we got to go in there and fight now. But the thing that you have to understand is, people, hear me out. To defend yourself against any charge, I don't care if it's traffic or as an arrest charge, you have a right to get the evidence that we have. You hear what I'm saying? If I got a body-worn camera and it shows differently than I'm saying it does, you better ask for that body-worn camera footage. You're going to court the same way the officer goes in court. He's going in there to prove that you were wrong, to get you convicted. You need to sit back and say, no, his evaluation of what you did was wrong. So you ask, well, what we do? We go in court, stand in front of the judge. He will put a video up, and then like judge say, oh, you're wrong. Then you can sit back and say, oh, no, I was right. But you can't defend yourself because you didn't prepare yourself. So prepare yourself. Whatever we have to prove that you did something wrong, you can use it against us.
Ms. Burr, hold on, Ms.
Yeah. Yes, ma'am.
A lot of the guys were there because they had no knowledge
No.
of the law.
That's right.
They knew nothing.
Nothing.
Then when I left there, I became a bail bond agent. All my clients that come through, and I speak to them about the PTI program. I let them know exactly what it is. I even ask my peers, other bail bond agents. It's not all about the money, it's about the knowledge. And if you do it the right way, people will keep coming back to you. So I'm talking about referring. I don't want the same clients over and over again, but I want them to let someone know she will help you.
Yes, ma'am.
PTI, having that knowledge, knowing that a pretrial intervention, you pay that money, and if you don't have it, they will make a payment plan
They will.
for you. So you don't have to worry about not having it. But once you get there and you do that and you let them know exactly what it is, I don't believe that I was that wrong, Your Honor.
Yeah, exactly.
This is what happened. And you'll have an opportunity to make it work. But anybody have any questions? Like I said, my office across the street, I'm there for you. I ask the police officers all the time. My cousin Timmy Brown is an.
Yeah, Timmy Brown.
And
Yeah,
I tell them all the time, let them know what's going on.
Yes.
Don't have a fear.
Yes.
They're your friends. They
Yeah.
really are not your
Yeah.
enemies.
That's
They're
true.
gonna help you and help other people.
that's right.
So, as I said before, as I said, as I'm listening to you,
Yes, ma'am.
Chief,
That's,
you're so right.
Thank you, man. Thank
so
you.
that is the rain. That's the rain. They were actually moving everything under the breezeway while we were talking. A couple of things that I heard while I was here. One, I want to thank everyone for the engagement. But while we're in this space right now, we have multiple nonprofits that are in the room with us. So I would just like you all to raise your hands. Those who are with okay, so Joy, I don't know why your hand didn't go up, sweet. Thank you. Thank you, Joy. Joy is with I Serve with Joy. We have Dexter, that is with the Wayland Heart team. Joyce Neesmith with Beyond Our Walls, and we have the Neighborhood Association representative for the Wayland with us. What's your name, young lady? Oh, Tanae. Okay, you made it. I would like for those and we have our Pathfinder, one of our Pathfinder leaders here, Dedra. Raise your hand. I don't know who's over community service for the church, but our pastor is here as well, and then our youth ministries leader. I am asking everyone, and our women's ministry. Okay, prison ministry. I didn't see Rose head over there. If you all would, this is a time for us to work together. The purpose for us doing this and opening the doors is to generate a conversation on how we as Shiloh in this space can help. We have a growing relationship with the Wayland Association. They've been using our space to meet with for years for the neighborhood. We've actively been going out doing acts of kindness, putting packets out with the Wayland Heart team and walking with them. There are opportunities and ways for us to serve our community and to help combat violence, but we can only do that by working together. So while we have the opportunity for fellowship, I ask that everyone please exchange phone numbers in here so that we can begin to make the Wayland a safer space. That's what we're all here to do. We're here to make our community safer and better. Again, for our nonprofit leaders, please raise your hands. If you have an issue, everyone see them? Please make sure that they all get your telephone numbers, email addresses, follow their organizations on social media so that we can build a base. This won't be the last time that we have a conversation like this that allows us to actually hear each other and what can be done. We had some really great questions that were raised here, but most importantly, I want to thank Chief Burgess for taking the time to come out. On behalf of the AYS department and my mom, we would like to present
wow.
this John Daso Low Country painting to you.
Thank you, man.
This is John Daso is a well-known artist in the state of South Carolina, but most importantly, John's work sits in President Obama's home. It also sits in the Smithsonian Institute, and he actually delivered that to us on Friday for you and has signed it. So,
Well, you know, I played football since I've been in the 4th grade, and one award I never got. I got a lot of them. I didn't get the Heisman Trophy, but just a whole lot better than the Heisman Trophy. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
oh, there she is.
Thank you
But
very much.
thank you so very much. And John he was so excited to be able to give that to you. So tell Miss Burgess to find a great place for it.
Thank you. Thank you. See, this is my lineage. This is me. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Sent you a binya.
Yes,
We had to acknowledge that. Again, have y'all shifted everything so we can come out? She's
Yeah.
so what should we do? Okay, talk to Dominique. We'll keep,
Yeah.
okay, so we'll keep,
Yes, ma'am. Okay.
okay, they've got a lot of food, so if everybody just hold on a second, because we want to be able to make sure that everybody eats. Young people, do you guys have anything to say while we're here? Dexter, maybe? Tanae? Mm-hmm. Okay. Awesome. Awesome. Dexter? Joy, please make your way up front.
Joy.
Thank you.
So it's a question that actually works out. So kudos to you for sure. Every time I ever seen crime or even seen like good things happen in the city, I've always seen your face and your presence for sure. So we appreciate you for always being involved.
Thank you.
And thank you, kudos again to Ms. Joyce, Ms. Tanae, to Ms. Joy, to Ms. Joyce, Ms. Iris. Can't thank everybody in this room enough because really, once again, the goodness of us kind of gets overshadowed by the crime that does happen sometimes versus the community and the neighbors that actually do make a difference here. But my question to you was a little bit, how does law enforcement, and particularly you, prioritize mental health tactics? Because I know you said drugs was the primary cause of a lot of crimes, but drugs really is because of self-medication for mental health issues, and for poverty, seeing drugs as an escape or opportunities as hope. So how do you prioritize mental health tactics? What agencies in particular do you kind of work with? And how do you communicate that to your officers? I always hear from you, but not really your officers in your department.
Well, I'm glad you said it. I'm gonna start from the last part. That's why you see a lot of my officers, like Lieutenant Cerrone and Deputy Hagee, I had to lead from the front to get them to understand what my leadership was about. And I did that in 18 and 19. And now they have to, because I'm not gonna be doing this stuff alone. This is my 33rd year. So succession plan, I'm getting them out there. So you're gonna start seeing more of them doing it. But the social issues with the mental situation, man, you could imagine how it impacts us. We don't even want to even deal with somebody who we know that is mental. When folks who have mental issues commit crime, they really don't commit crime because they want to. There's a lot going on in their minds and in their lives. So we would rather have, when we roll out there, we would rather have mobile crisis to come, or MUSC, or ROPA, or somebody, some facility, or we'll call their doctors and ask them to come out there. When the Sutherland situation happened, when the young man was taken to the jail and he got killed, we actually, the female officer that you saw that was in the jail, when you saw her out there talking, and then when they gave him over to the jail, she actually is a corporal. She's from Mount Pleasant, awesome girl. She actually had struck up a good conversation with Mr. Sutherland while she was taking him in the car. You can look at the video. They were talking normally, regular. When she got to the jail, that's why he was calm. He got in there, and he only got angry because he had things going on, but he didn't fight anybody, not in front of our presence. So when she found out that he had died, I had to get her peer counseling because she felt that she was responsible for that. If you notice the video, when we went to the facility, we asked them, do y'all have a place that y'all can take him? They said, no, he's done this and done that. We want to press charges on him. We actually went to the EMS supervisor on scene and said, hey, can we get him in the EMS truck so y'all can take him down to the hospital? No, he has to be arrested. They shut us down both times. It's recorded. So we removed him from the site. You saw us walking him. He wasn't pulling away. He was walking to the car, got in the car, sat down, went to the jail. That female officer had a call 2 weeks ago. The EMS called for an officer. She's a supervisor. We need the officer to come to so-and-so house. We got a guy in a wheelchair. We're going to actually pick him up because I guess he's kind of bonded by the wheelchair, and we're going to get him up to put him inside the EMS wagon. But we feel that he's going to be combative. So our officers went there. She heard on the radio, she's supervisor. She said, disregard that. We're not doing it. And the EMS supervisor called our lieutenant to report on her. She says no, and I agree with her. We should not in law enforcement be caught up in a situation with somebody that can't help themselves, and we're coming in as law enforcement. Now, if it's something where somebody was struck, we've got to detain them, you know, or if they like tearing the house up, we got to detain them. But still yet detain them and take them to a facility that can help him or her. That's that. But what is amazing to me is this. They asked me to come to the meeting at City Hall with the state representatives and state senators. Ms. Sutherland was in there. They had talked about all these things that need to be done. The police just don't need to do this. We need to get social this and social that. That was 4 or 5 months ago. Where is it? We're still at the same situation. So what I'm saying to you as a nonprofit, talk to the General Assembly people. They have to change the dynamics of how we handle, you know, folks who have mental issues. The state representative and the state senators, they can make the change. We can't because it's already built in the system. We don't want to deal with them. We want to get them help. You know, that's the number one thing my officers talk about. I ride with all of them. When I became the chief of police in 2018, I rode with every officer in the department for almost 4 weeks. It took me to get to at least about 75% of them, because the rest of them are commanders. I see. I went to ride with them, ask them about themselves personally, what they expect, and I told them what I expected. So that's one of the main things they say to me, Chief. We don't want to deal with the people who are mental because they don't understand what they're doing, but we're forced to put our hands on them. And when they resist, we have to detain them. You know, and it's not right. So you can make that change. You can.
I hear what you're saying. So
Yeah.
primarily, like the institutions, the government kind of like forces you guys to be that policing agency, far-reaching versus just law enforcement itself.
They handcuff us. They handcuff us. They make us say, you got to do it. Because there's no policy or statute that says that we can't. If they would make it, and they can make it, all they got to do is do it. Listen, you talking about a state that don't have a hate crime bill. Come on, man. Come on.
Yeah.
Come on, man.
Yeah, only two.
Come on. I mean, we got people dying out there because of hate, not only on the racial side, but on the gender side. You know, all kind of sides. I mean, hate is hate. You know, so it's going to be a big task. Yeah.
Appreciate that.
You are. Yes, ma'am.
They had issues, you know, mentally, and no one addressed it when we were in elementary, middle school, and even high school. It was just always switch. And a lot of it is because of where we live at. They felt like because we're in this zip code, or, you know, that, oh, these schools are well equipped and everything like that. And it's not so. They only equip for certain cultures, not my culture.
What has happened that I've seen the government and how policies are done. Every government entity, every school district, every hospital, whatever, they have policies and procedures, standard operational procedures. And our standard operational procedures, normally in law enforcement, like in the schools, we don't really get. We have conflict resolutions in our schools. We have a program that's called diversion program. We actually follow the best practices in North Charleston. And we've been doing that since 2003. We've got a program that's called Odyssey that was a juvenile diversion program. I refused, when I was a school cop at North Charleston High, my alumni, I went to Barnes-Wilson, but it became my school. I was there for 2 years. If you ask the principal how many people I arrested there, it was only time I arrested people might have been 2 out of 2 years. Because I feel like if your child is at that school and somebody is fighting your child, and your child was defending him or herself, why should I put them in jail with the other person who was actually starting the fight? So I never would. I would find out who started it, and I said, okay, I have to charge him or her. But when I charge them, what do you know what I do? Put them in ISS. Because when they're out there in the streets, they're going to get into mischief. So I put them in ISS, and I monitor that. And then also the child that defended themselves, the school's going to probably do something, but I said, no, you can't put them out. Because when you put them out, they're losing so much. So we found different programs. That's why we do more of our Odyssey program, which is diversion. The thing about that is that what we didn't have there in the diversion, we don't have a social, person from a mental standpoint, somebody who actually can understand the things that's going on with their children. We don't. My wife retired after 30 years at MUSC. She's worked in the Institute of Psychiatry for 28 years of those 30. They had first a program called Comet. They now have a program called STAR. STAR takes kids with emotional problems and they cannot function in schools. They're there the whole school term at MUSC with my wife and another group. What they try to do is get them to make sure that they understand the reason why they take medication. They try to get them to understand how to work with other kids and see when they're at that moment, when they're in crisis, how to manage that crisis. So they can put them back into the school system. I think that law enforcement, if you ask me, I think that in our schools, that needs to be more. You need to have more people like that. That way you can leave law enforcement out of it. Because when a child is in the class and they know he's emotional and he starts doing some stuff that the teacher don't like, who do you think they call? They don't call the Ghostbusters. They call us. They call us. And then when we come in there, right? The thing we see is tables and chairs all over the place. And then we try to grab the kid and calm him down. And we have to detain him to calm him down. But if we had somebody there at each school, and not only one, you probably need about 2 or 3 of them there. Invest in that. How many $1 million they got from the pandemic? Invest in that. Get that to be a budgeted thing where you know a person's going to be in there. So I think that the school system itself needs to recognize that they need more social people, assistants, to help with mental and all those type of things. And also with law enforcement. We had one person that we begged for many years to come from the Department of Mental Health, right? He comes there. I heard a call on the radio about, matter of fact, Foster. Somebody knows Foster here. Sergeant Foster. Sergeant Foster is one of he's the cop of cops around here. They call him, when the police needed him, they call him, Foster was out at the scene. A guy was on his knees somewhere in the Shakur Cherokee with a knife to his neck, saying he's in broad daylight, saying he's going to kill himself. The other officer came out to the scene. He's not going to pull a weapon because the guy's no threat to him. He's thinking, okay, do I pepper spray him or to try to get the knife out of his hand? And he was sitting there looking, and Foster said, hold up, just stand back. Foster went there and got close to him and said, got on his knees and said, man, we got to pray. And they captured everything on it. Now, the guy who worked for the mental health, he's at City Hall with me. You think he got in his car and went down there? No. You know why? Because he a paper pusher. That's all he does is get the reports and then and say, okay, this many people got arrested this year, and they had these types of situations. We need people on the streets, man. We need mobile crisis. When my car roll, mobile crisis should be before that. When the fire department realized something, mobile crisis should be right there. MUSC, ROPA, tried it, all of them could get together and help. But that is a political thing, people.
And
I'm not a politician.
I don't know how well it was received or understood.
Yeah.
And that is this. In the school system, with the law enforcement agencies, within the community, the thing that is, to me, askew, this is my opinion, and if you're wrong, 2 left shoes and no right thing. I'm okay with that.
Right.
Is people, we are looking for you as law enforcement, as teachers, as parents are looking at teachers, as educators, to solve problems that they're only trained to respond to. What needs to happen, in my opinion, is it needs to come back to community. I'm 61, and I didn't grow up in South Carolina. I grew up in Virginia, West Virginia, but still that's South. In our community, we policed our children before law enforcement ever got involved. We let that go.
Mm-hmm.
The way that the police don't have to deal with our children is if we deal with our children.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is we're expecting other people to fix a problem that originates with us. I'm gonna give you an example real quick.
Yeah, yes.
I was in law enforcement before coming in ministry. And I'll never forget the situation. We got a call to a department store. We get a call to a department store of child shopping. I'm sitting outside the room, me and my partner. We're sitting outside the room because the mother has been called because he's a minor. I'm sitting at the door. My partner's on the other side, and we're just talking because we're waiting on this mother to come in. The mother comes in. She walks past me. The door is, for instance, here. I'm sitting here. She walks past me. She's in a white uniform. I don't know if she works in whatever she does. But anyway, she comes in. She has her purse under her arm. And also in between her body and her purse is a stick.
Mm-hmm.
We missed it because we weren't paying attention. We just waited on the mother to come in. We already put the child under arrest, 15-year-old boy. He's handcuffed, sitting in the room. We don't want to take him because one's parent, his mom's not. When his mother goes past me, I caught a glimpse of something that didn't look right because she had a dark purse and a white uniform on. But then there's something sticking out that by the time I caught it, she raised her arm, dropped the purse, stick in hand, and she started wailing on me. Right? I had to do something. I got to respond to this. So, man, you can't. She looks at me, she looks at my partner,
That's right.
and she says, take your hands off me.
That's right.
She said, because I'm beating him now, so that y'all will beat him.
Later. That's it. That's it.
He's fucking, he don't understand. I look at him, he looks at me, and that look in his face was, what do we do? I said, follow me. We went outside, and I closed the door.
Yes.
I stood outside, and I said, as long as she don't kill him, that's her child.
Yeah.
My point is this. Too many of us don't have the attitude of that mother had. We're waiting on Chief Burgess and his department to solve problems that we don't want to address. We don't want to take that child as he's young and teach him accountability and responsibility for his own behavior, because we want to treat that child as our friend. We're scared of our children being angry with us. Without realizing we are fostering an attitude and a mentality that creates a situation for law enforcement to deal with. Even in the church, we don't want to address the problems because we don't want anybody to hold us accountable. We don't want anybody to hold our children accountable. When I was a kid, I'm 61, so I'm going back. Y'all don't understand this. If I talk back to Miss Thrower, Miss Thrower had the permission to wear my tail out.
Yes.
Or if Miss Thrower said I would beat other people's children, Miss Thrower would call my grandma. And my grandma would wear my tail out. When my granddaddy get home, I'm gonna get another one. When my mom get home, I'm gonna get another one. When my daddy get home, I'm gonna get another one. When my uncle come by the house, he gonna get me because my mama had to get me. And then we don't do that anymore. So when it comes to children with mental issues, we can recognize this in many of the situations. Okay. Yeah, I passed this, so I'm gonna say this. Y'all will put down. That's my size already back. One of the biggest problems is that we do not want to admit is that we as adults give our children issues. Right? We cause our children to have mental issues. Because we want to address our own problems. We turn them over to our children, or we infect our children, and then we say, Chief Burgess, I need you to come to my house and deal with my child because I can't deal with my child. But because we won't let our brothers and our sisters and our families help us to deal with the troubled child that we create. I know I don't get it, man. It's okay.
Amen.
But what I'm saying is, rather than look to cheap virgins or your child's first grade, second grade, third grade teacher or the principal, deal with that child at home. If you don't deal with that child at home, and you expect law enforcement, when law enforcement comes, they have one responsibility or one job, and that's to lock that child up.
Yep.
If you don't want your child locked up, suck it up, buttercup. Grab that child, sit that child down and say, you're going to listen to me. If you can't get that child to listen to you, there are people in your community, your brother, your sister, your uncle, your cousin, your friend, who will help you if you let them. But we cannot expect teachers and law enforcement to fix issues that originate in the home. Because once the police come and they respond to that, I've been on the law enforcement side. And I know what it's like. When you gotta go into a home and you gotta deal with children, because here's what happens to you as a law enforcement officer as well. You call the police to straighten out something, but when the police get there to straighten it out, you want to now get the police officer straight.
Yep.
So you got an officer in a situation, when I was cop, one of the worst situations, and I'm sure still today. I've been out of law enforcement for 30 years, but I know it's still the same. Domestic situation is the number one area where police officers get hurt or killed.
That's right.
I don't know how many times you go to grab an aggressor, whether it's the woman or the husband who's doing the abuse. But you gotta make sure you watch your back, because while you are pulling this person off of the person that they are beating, the person who's getting beaten gets up with a knife.
That's right.
And wants to stab you for protecting them.
Yes.
So oftentimes, we only see one side of the issue without recognizing our contribution to the totality of the situation. I urge us as a community to be more engaged in helping solve the problem at its origin. Because if we can address the problem early enough, when these children are this age, parents, you cannot stop someone from saying to them, stop doing what you're doing. Stop that, don't do that. Because when you tell your child, you have to listen to him, you have to listen to her. What you say to your child is, don't you respect the father. It's going to include you. Can I just, real quick, I'm gonna give you something else. In my own family, distant family, I had an uncle and an aunt who told their children they didn't have to obey or listen to anybody else. Okay? Those children, my cousins, got to the age of 13, 14 years old, they turned on their parents. They were told, you don't have to listen to nobody.
That's right.
Here's what we don't get oftentimes. We create the problem in our community because we don't want to be accountable.
That's right.
Accountability is critical. We want to hold other people accountable. You want to hold chief virgins. You want to hold the principal. You want to hold the school system accountable. But the reality of it is, I'm responsible for my child.
Yes.
And when I say to restore, when I say to chief virgins, when I say to the community, y'all got to do something. If we want our children to not join gangs, if we want our children to not be criminals, if we want our children to not be in situations where law enforcement is going to lock them up, we need to work with our children when they are young. Train up a child
There you go.
in the way they should go. When he's old, he will not depart from you.
Yes.
But misuse that text of scripture. Let me give it to you the way it's supposed to be. Study your child. Learn your child's behavior, temperament, and gifts, and help guide that child in the direction that is going to be a benefit to them and their community. And when they understand themselves by your leading and guiding, you will have someone who is able to be productive. We have to be more involved in our children's lives and not wait for them to develop into something that we can't control and then call Chief Burgess and say, I need you to fix this. And then when Chief Burgess goes to fix it, well, that's the way I would do it. But what were you doing?
Here we go.
Am I making sense to anybody?
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate Chief Burgess. But I understand what Chief Burgess is saying. Because every one of us in this room, and I'm just going to say it like a TICB, every one of us in this room, we applaud Chief Burgess right now. But when our child is going to go to jail, we're going to look at Chief Burgess and say, why didn't you start this with him? It starts with us. It starts with every one of us.
Yes.
If we don't work together for the benefit of our children, then many of us are going to lose our children to what we never intended for them to go. But the truth of the matter is, if you do nothing, you cannot have an expectation for something.
Yes.
I'm sorry.
No.
Thank you very much for what was said. So right now, they've been texting me to let me know that the food and the space is ready for us to, Shella just said, take a break and then continue. Let's, Sister Thrower, I know you standing up there, you got something
Oh, I
to say.
just wanted to add to what Pastor Valentine was saying. Parents, grandparents, aunties, uncles, please don't shelter somebody else's child when they run away from home or when they are doing something they shouldn't be doing, because a lot of times they leave home because they've done something that's wrong. And then if they have someone that's going to shelter them, it's still not helping them at all. And I did speak with an officer with, he's with the Sheriff's Department, but he was with North Charleston. You know him. I can't call his
Fletcher
name.
King.
Hmm?
Fletcher King.
No,
Okay.
he told me not to call his name.
Okay.
But I could tell you.
Okay.
But he said when he has domestic situations going on, what he will do is find the oldest individuals in the group. He said, and he will go to the elderly person and tell them, hey, this is the situation and I need your help. I need you to help stop this from happening. And he said, normally he doesn't have to go back because it's the parents and the grandparents who will help out. But we just thank you so much for being here. And we have to do it again.
Yes, ma'am.
And we got some slack about it, but that's okay.
Right.
But we just appreciate you so much.
Thank you, ma'am.
And I feel that you should get some more money.
So
But-
since there, I'm sorry, Mom, go
But
ahead.
we've cleared a path so that you
She
can get.
said they're almost ready. She just texted me.
Oh, they must be fixing some more food because I guess the people who were it.
They're ready? Okay, okay,
Okay,
good.
we cleared a path so you can just go into the next building. And in the far right room, individuals who want to sit down and eat, we've put some tables up so that you can sit down and eat. But thank you all for coming. We appreciate everybody. And
Hold on,
So,
Ms. Berg. Can we, Ms. Berg, I get her picture. But before, let's all, again, those nonprofits that are in the room, please make your way to them. We've got Joy with I Serve with Joy, Dexter with the Wayland Hart team, Miss Joyce with Beyond Our Walls. Did I get it right? Yes. Tanae with the Neighborhood Association. We have our Pathfinder leader over here, Prison Ministries over there, Adventist Youth Ministries. And let's all stand. Pastor, will you please bless the food? So,
And
we can-
also Jean's Angels.
Yeah,
She
Jean's
has
Angels.
gifts for people. She's got some bedding and towels, things like that, that she's giving away. So it's right over here as you get your food. Thank you.
Be with us as we are your foot soldiers. We are your hands, we are your eyes, we are your hearts. We ask you, Lord, to be with Chief Burgess and his department and the other accompanying law enforcement agencies. But more than anything, God, we ask for protection on our children, our loved ones. Bless us with wisdom, understanding. Help us, Lord, to do our part. Help us, Lord, to do our part. Bless the food that is prepared. May it nourish our bodies. Bless our fellowship. And it organizes others, we pray. In Jesus' name.
Amen.
It's an artist.